You got your
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
is live.
Welcome everyone to another powerful and inspiring live conversation. Today we're joined by the incredible Naresh Veeran, a visionary director, author, and storyteller known for creating deeply meaningful and transformative work. We'll be diving into his latest theoretical production, A Woman Apart, a gripping and intimate exploration of identity, health, and what it truly means to be free through the story of Tash, a successful attorney navigating a life-changing moment. This production challenges us to reflect on our own lives, the masks we wear, and the truths we often avoid. Get ready for a conversation that is honest, thought provoking, and deeply relatable. Let's get into it. Hope you're well, Naresh.
Hey, all good, all good, all really good. It's good to see you again. I'm
Yeah,
kind of
likewise.
getting used to this now. Do a little project, sit down, call. Do a little project, sit down, call.
I like it. Yeah, when you sent me the message on WhatsApp regarding what you're doing now, I had to get you on because it was so fascinating.
Yeah. So just to dive right into it, the production was a huge success. We did a pilot of 5 shows over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And all were pretty much sold out. The crowds were amazing. The response, we had a review done by Art Smart, Caroline Smart, and Shannon McKay did a review of the play. And they unpacked exactly what we wanted them to see and how and in which the whole thing played itself out. And the innovation, the technology, the AI, with just one woman on stage, it really worked very well. So from concept right to that point, uh, it's a package now. It's got a story. It's got all that. What needs to happen now is a rollout where we take a woman apart on the road, and that's where I now have reason to pause. So what I've learned in the last 4 months, and when I say learned, what it bottom line comes down to, who is willing to buy a ticket to come watch you perform for 70 minutes. So someone must be willing to part with cash that they
Hmm.
worked with from Monday to Friday. Now the question is, can you get 300 of them into a theater, or 200, depends on the size of the theater. That is generally what the problem is throughout the world. That's not the
Yeah.
problem here in KZN.
Oh, okay.
Because what I've learned in KZN, I mean, now that I've got the project up and going in this province, um, the marketing was the theatre is situated in central Durban, CBD. Let's market to a 30-kilometer radius of people that could drive to the theatre. So it's a live event. And in the 30-kilometer radius, so we're talking about as far as sort of Belito on the north of KZN, Durban, Potchefstroom in the south of Durban, probably Hammersdale to the east, to the west. Now, if you look at that triangle, there's about 400,000 odd Facebookers or Instagrammers and all of that. The problem was 95% of my audience was Indian.
Wow.
Now, what I'm saying is this was packaged as the theater piece. It was packaged with art. It was packaged using language that is not specific to one or another community. This was a pure theater piece. It had an Indian name, Naresh Veeran, and an Indian name, Kajal Miraj. And once you saw that, unfortunately, 95% of the bookings were Indian. Now, are you telling me there are
Hmm.
no black theater goers wanting to watch theater, or white theater goers watching theater in that
Hmm.
30K radius? And the answer is yes, because same with me. Uh, I wouldn't go, not that I don't want to, it's just out of my social comfort zone. So what
Hmm.
I've realized now is a play like A Woman Apart will need time for it to outgrow the Indian community, for people
Hmm.
to see the message rather than the messages. The messages right now are Indian, but the message isn't Indian. So I need people to see past the messages, and that's going to take a long time. So my thinking is very simple. Kajol is an actress. Whether she likes it or not, she's an Indian South African actress, and she is
Hmm.
compartmentalized as such by the audience that is paid to watch her. Which means that's going to replicate itself from Durban to Peter Maritzburg to Newcastle to Dundee to Glencoe, all the way to Johannesburg, and then we have a new fight. You're fighting with every other theatre company, as well as the racial element, the cultural element. And by the time you get to Grahamstown and all the festivals, this production needs to go through that process. and it needs that energy and strength, stamina, but also needs patience. It's a product that really needs patience to go to its. So I'm thinking Kajal is ideally placed to do that and carry on that. But for me, I think for this to go quicker and faster to reach the world, I need to license an isiZulu version with an actress that's based in Johannesburg that could take this play faster than Kajal would. And it's not because Kajal can't. It's because
Yeah.
she's restricted and chained by the cultural and social chains that have come with performing in KZN and working as an artist in KZN. You are servicing a particular community, whether you like it or not. I
Yeah.
find that as a musician, I found that as a writer, and now I'm finding that as a theater director. So what am I saying is, yes, that's something that needs to be addressed, and we will do that. And that's what democracy is about. And that's a long term plan. But for me, right now, with a creative, as a creative, what do I do? So my thinking is for this thing, for a woman apart to really live beyond, KZN, beyond Durban, beyond South Africa, beyond the continent. We could travel to the Edinburgh Festival and to festivals in Europe and the States. The only way to get this kind of, because we have a innovative concept that's never been done before successfully. A movie on stage, 60% of the entire play is a movie, not a play. The
Wow.
40% is a vehicle that carries the movie rather than the other way around. So you're watching a live screen play, not a play, not a movie. So the concept, the innovation itself is enough for this to travel. If you couple that with a really great story of a single woman in crisis who finds the patience, the energy, the strength, all of that to to still survive that moment, and in falling apart, finds herself. That is an amazing story to tell. So the vehicle is right, the story is right. It's ahead of its time or behind its time. It's one of those things. So a couple of the options was to license that version, Kajal. The problem with taking the Kajal option exclusively on the road with an Indian actress, it needs a dedicated team to financially power this. And I mean, I could finance it myself, show by show, and make a little bit of money and go on and all that. But I'm not in the business of making money. I'm in the business of creating beauty and spreading joy. There
Mm.
are other people who are better at making money than me, and they are qualified however much. And I'm saying, if I could find at some point in the future as an idea amongst the audience members to take ownership of it, with everyone buying a share, Kajal has a 10% shareholding as an actress. I have other investors as well. But at some point, I would like to get to a point where they are almost like a power of 10. Each person has a 10 or 20,000 rand or however much invested in this, and they become the board. Someone like me then just becomes a minion that just does the running around. I'm happy to do the running around and all the plugins and all that, but I need the financial space to think of what happens next. Because what happens next is the man apart. It's his story. You've heard her story, you've seen the whole thing, you felt for her, you want to, in the end, you're rooting for her, and in the end, you are really happy that she came out victorious, but you only really heard one side of a story. So, my idea of a man apart, the other side of the story, is potentially what I'd like to explore while a woman apart's running. So, even if it's a year run that run maybe 100, 200 performance, however much or however many, or however few it runs, that there is a sequel that it feeds into as an option. And then, of course, there's just the option of shooting it as a full, as a Netflix special. It's 70
Okay.
minutes. It's
Wow.
it's HD 4K film. It's got all the specs. And if it's shot as a play, a South African theatre piece, so I mean, there's lots of those options as well. And the worst case scenario is put it online, put in bits. Um, Either way, The business of this is what's concerning me. And I am not an expert in that. There are people that are obviously, I think, not just better placed, but who might want to get their feet dipped into the theater business. Listen, I am a retired teacher, or a retired doctor, a retired nurse. I am a plumber. I am a receptionist at a legal firm, and I might have a couple of bucks to spend, and I'll now be joining the likes of Kajal and Doctor So and So and Architect So and So, and receptionist so and we all together own a piece of art, like a timeshare in a piece of art. And if this piece of art is shown over the next 10 or 12 exhibitions, we all make a bit of money out of this. Um, and while that's happening, we know an artist who's coming up with the next piece of art. And if we like it, we might get first refusal on that one. I really want to stay away from the business side of it, is what I'm saying. I would prefer to just have the space to keep on creating, because I realized once you are boxed in financially, you start creating in that box. And so as a result, if you've only got access to two actors and suddenly you're only creating, I only had access to one actress, Kajal, at the time. So I made a single hander. But if I had a box, uh, if I was involved in a project with Kajal, two of us, and she was the only resource, and so we said, let's go on. But if that project had five people in it, I would have probably written a five-hander, a play for five of us. How is this all driven? It's all driven by necessity. People say, as an artist, where do you get your ideas from? I get from ideas from paying the rent and making sure there's food in the fridge. For that to happen, you need money. And for money to happen, you need to have an idea that's brilliant. And for an idea to be brilliant, it's not driven by, oh, let's go or meditate now and be one of the universe and a brilliant idea will come and I'll hear some sounds and all of that. No. You hire me to play a song for you on Saturday at 4 o'clock. That's my entire life between now and Saturday at 4 o'clock. That's how an artist, I think those are the conditions that are best suitable to create art, where someone is singular about delivery of of a product, a piece, whatever it might be, and not be distracted. And the way to do that is to make sure that the other boxes are ticked, the financial boxes are ticked, the legal boxes are ticked, ownership, direction, all of the red flags. Because remember, we are unfortunately at the end of all of this dealing with a racial issue was the necessity. That's the seed. Because 20 years, 30 years of democracy. And I'm a musician and a theater person and a writer. And all my audiences in Durban are brown. And some of my audiences are beige and some are cream, but predominantly the people that are paying to watch me are my own community, which is as it should be. But at some point, how do you transcend? How does your art transcend the community? People got to see beyond the color of your skin or your name. I mean, do I go into the John Simpson presents, My Fair Lady? Should that be a version of that? I don't know. Or should it be a more vernacular version? This is Zulu. But again, as an artist, I can't be restricted by what you think you want to hear or see or feel. I'll show you stuff and you'll feel it, believe me. But I think once you start dictating how you think you want to feel and how you think it should be and all that, that's when the issues are. So, bottom line again, what I've got is this audience ownership idea, which is you've really unpacked it brilliantly. The idea of from audience to ownership, because if an audience member says, "I am willing to pay R5 to watch this or R500 to watch this," I'm sure there must be at least 5,000 people like me in Johannesburg, or 1,000 people like me in Cape Town, or 100 people like me in Danhausen or in Swaziland. So I am just saying, whatever it is that resonates with you, that made you see this and enjoy it, and then tell everybody else about it and make it what it was here in KZN. I'm saying that's is what's going to do that with other people as well. And now you get a chance to do that, but from an ownership perspective, from a completely empowered thing. The second reason I said only women, I would prefer a board of women, I mean, since I've come from a woman and only have daughters, I'm like a sandwich between all the women in my life. So
Oh,
I just think it's a cool idea because this this industry up until now has been very male dominated in terms of the guys that wrote. There's been me, and before me it was lots and lots and lots and lots of males writing, right down to Athol Fugard. Let's go right all the way back. I'm saying, all the really successful big. I mean, there's been lots of females successes, of course, but I think, like I said, like the audience shift needs to happen here in KZN and South Africa, where people go to theater for the sake of theater, not because it was written by so and so, or and people like Trevor Noah are one of the fewer ones that are able to transcend all audiences. Now, how the hell do the rest of us get that big before we get noticed? Not that we get noticed. The art is still the art. The joke that he said in 1990, and the joke is, it's still the same joke. It's just that the context and the social environment has changed. He's just as funny as he was 20 years ago. So like a different man. So it's not about I want more people to hear me. It's that if you've got something, how do you share it? How do you share that joy? Because you're in the business of creating beauty and sharing joy, out of that process. So the fastest, most efficient way to get the beauty out there for people to feel what they feel is the winner. So the audience ownership for me is something I am fiddling with right now as an idea. There's been lots of interest from all the. So what I did was all the people that bought tickets, all those 95% of them, by the way, not were just Indian. 95% of them were women. So 95% of ticket buyers were female. So I pretty much texted the whole gang saying, "I have an idea. If you think this is worth pursuing, let's chat." It's an idea of joint ownership of an artistic product. It's like it's a Ferrari year. Let's all of us invest. I can't buy it myself, and you can't buy it yourself. But together we'll own. It's a timeshare of sorts, but we'll have it for a year, and let's enjoy it for that year or 2 years or however long. It has value that everybody sees it, and once everybody sees it, then now show us the next one, and by then it just keeps it running. That's the only way I'm going to survive in this theater thing personally, I think, unless someone commissions me to write something, And I don't want to go into the. Someone like me is very useful in the advertising field. And I did that for the first 30 years of my life, come up with an idea very quickly, snap it up, see what the bottom line is, work backwards, come up with a strategy, and then shoot it. And I'm saying I don't want to get lost in that world as well, because it's very easy to accumulate funds through a quick number of series of shots. Shoot a couple of commercials, let's make a couple of bucks, use the money, and then put it in theater. That's just throwing good money after bad money. What you need here is a solid strategy from the bottom up, and it needs ownership. Everybody has to have some skin in the game, for real art to work. Otherwise, it's going to be wasted. Because I'm bored now. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I've written it. I've directed it. From an artistic perspective, there's nothing more I can do for A Woman Apart. Um, I mean, obviously, I could tweak and turn and direct a sequel, or if it's a black actress or a Afrikaans actress, or someone wants to translate to French, or someone said, "Listen, we want to do a German version of it." That's the because the language, all of that is set in 2026. It's not set in an Indian community necessarily in Durban or KZN. Actually, it's set in Johannesburg and Stanton, and set amongst a very high income, uh, a high, a high income area, high income kind of market social environment. So yeah. Anyway, but that's my story in 20 minutes.
awesome.
The 20-minute elevator pitch.
No problem. All right. We'll start with this opportunity invites everyday supporters, friends, fans, and family to become co-owners of A Woman Apart. How important is community ownership in building something that goes beyond just a production into a movement?
You see, the link, uh, the link between creating something and an audience taking ownership of it is what's the prayer. That's the holy grail. And we
Okay.
all, writers, musicians, actors, dancers, whatever it is we have, we want to do this thing, this yoga with the audience, this union with the audience, as soon as possible, because that's what the whole thing was about. You alone doing what you're doing is called practice. You with a group is now the same thing, but it's called performance. And when practice changes from performance, the chemicals change, the attitude changes, the alertness changes, the fight and flight, the adrenaline. Ask any musician, singer, dancer, poet about the rush of showing your stuff. Whether the response is good, bad, or ugly, there's a response. And that's what's art about. It's made you respond. Even if you said, "Oh man, that's absolute crap. I will never go see that." And I'm gonna tell everybody not to see it, which is what you want. If all PR is good, Um,
Mm,
and if you think and listen, and there's no bad art, is it? It's not your taste.
mm,
If you don't like red, there's nothing we can do to change the color of red. It's just the way it
mm.
is. But there are other people. So in a sense, it's very important, and that's the pivot of which the whole thing swings. Ownership from an audience perspective.
It's
Cool.
true. You're essentially turning audience members into investors. What mindset shift is required for a fan to step into the role of a stakeholder?
What I've noticed is uh, over the last 10, 20 years, working on different kinds of productions, I found the stage, the performance element, it's a recurring income stream financially.
Oh, okay.
It's not like you watch your movies, it has a lifespan. But plays, I mean, look at Shakespeare. It's 500 years later,
Mm,
and his plays are still being done. I'm saying, look at the principle. Forget about the person now. The message, not the messenger. The principle of live performance seems to be an ongoing thing with us, even through Instagram and through the 1990s and the 2000s and through the 80s. Over the last 500 years, that seems to be a consistent desire for us to come together and witness art as an audience, as a collective, as a family, as friends, going out on a Friday night to listen to jazz. However, it's motivated. This is what's happening. Um, so this financial element multiplies by the number of seats. 100 rand a seat, and if you've got 1,000 seats, that's 100 grand in one night. Now, if you're
mm,
running a show for 5 nights, that's a 500,000 rand in one week. This is numbers that are beyond me if it's successful. Not just beyond me, but beyond. It needs someone to willing in the beginning to say, listen, let's put in the 1 rands and the 2 rands to get this thing going. But once the fire starts, it's fire lighters versus putting logs into the fire.
mm.
So I'm at the fire lighter stage saying, I've shown you what I've got. Here's the concept. Here's the package. Here's the audience. Here's a video of everything. It's a full investment package. Thank you very much. And I am saying how it can work for you with me still involved, but as your chess piece, you move me around. But I want to really free myself from the ownership and the financial management of this. This is really not for me. Listen, it's not that I can't do it. I've got an MBA and all that. Yes, it can be done.
Of
It's
course,
such
yeah.
a bloody waste of time. Why would you want to spend money and time moving figures on a page when you can make that page and put it up there and everybody goes, wow, look, the figures are moving by themselves. How the hell do you do that? Please do it again. Show me how. That's a different. Uh, anyway, but that's my
Awesome.
story.
There's a strong emotional connection people feel after watching A Woman Apart. How do you balance that emotional buy-in with the reality that this is still a financial risk?
Yeah, the emotional buy-in was that's crazy because it, the technology in which you are confronted in the theater, it's a cell phone on stage, a massive cell phone on stage, and an actress. And after a couple of minutes, you get the feeling that you're looking over someone's shoulder and peeking into their phone because you can see the texts You can see the WhatsApp messages, you can see the emails that come through, the Instagram feed that they're going through, the personal stuff, the private stuff, the ugly stuff, the stuff nobody else sees. Everything is open to the audience for that 70 minutes.
Mm.
So what happens is, inevitably, because in a theater you got no cell phones, it's dark, there's stereo sound, 4K projection, you are immersed in this to such an extent that when you come out, you have seen people crying. There's a
Wow.
woman that held Kajal and cried and cried. There's a woman that came to me and cried, said, I can't believe a man wrote this. And you could see a lot of that investment. I can understand that. But again, that was my job, was to make you cry, or to laugh or to smile. So all I
Mm.
could do is my job was done. About the money now is the most important thing is, how do I feed my family? I love your tears, but it does not feed my family unless I can turn it into
Mm.
cash. And the way
Yep.
to do it is to get people that do that, who are born for that. The whole of North India, perhaps, there are some segments of the community, I have to say, who are designed genetically to make money. That's all I can say.
Mm.
Now, those are the people that I need involved in this kind of project, so that I can be free to be me, and they can be free to be themselves. Um, so, yeah, the divorce is going to be a messy divorce between money and art. But I'm going to be the single father, with holding the baby at the end if I don't do this. And I'd rather, it's beautiful, it's great, late run, and I'm right behind it, but I've got something slightly bigger coming behind it. Because imagine the two of them on stage together, a man apart and a woman apart, two stages and a single cell phone separating them, both looking at the same images with two interpretations, both looking at the same party that they had a fight at. You get his version and then you get her version. So this has many ways in which it can be spun technologically from an audience immersion, from that perspective. And it'll only get more and more beautiful and more immersive and more intense. And you're gonna get a lot more tears and a lot more smiles and a lot of more laughs and all of that. But for that to happen, state and church need to be there, need to separate. uh, money and art. Yeah,
That's true.
that's the short
The
answer.
idea, the idea of the power of 10, 10 women owning the production is powerful. What inspired you to structure it this way, and what does it represent symbolically?
Okay, without going to the numbers, the way I worked it out is, whatever I believe a woman apart to be worth, the way in which you do you do a due diligence or something like that is through forecasting future earnings. So I'm looking at another part of my life now from the last 30 years. But what you want to do is create net present value of your product. And that is based on some sort of data of, for example, if this runs 100 performances, like show number X or show number. So we have a couple of benchmarks, like show X, show Y, and show Z. This is what happened over 24 months, 12 months in the past. Based on that data, if we run this for this performances from year two, let's just say we go to a casino, Sabaya, 270 seats, Milkwood Theatre, 270 seats, Newcastle, 300 seats, Monte Casino, 500 seats. You multiply that by a minimum figure, etc., etc., etc. And that's how you value that. Now, I took that value and I said, listen, no matter whatever that number is after everything is paid, let's just say that's the net profit figure. If I can get one person to buy me out, that'll be great. But wait. I thought about, why get one person if I get 10 people with a much smaller number? You can't you can't afford 100 rand, for example, but you can afford 10 rand to play with. So I'm saying,
Yeah.
it's not 10 rand, it's not 100 rand, it's not the numbers, but as an example, put your
Mm.
10 bucks in here. And if you don't need the 10 bucks for the next 12 months, and you just get to be a part of this world, check it out, be a part of the process, the planning, what's going to happen, which theaters are going to next, which are the radio stations we're going to be going to, which TV stations we're planning to do a publicity thing at, which magazine, it's a really, really amazing industry to be a part of. And if you're a nurse and you want some sort of distraction, I'm saying for a mere small amount, you get a chance to be somebody else for a short period of your life. Enjoy it. So no one's done this before because it doesn't serve anyone or anything. Really. I can just do this myself. I just think it's a much more interesting way of everybody having fun. And in a way, I am creating beauty in the product. And the product is going to
Mm.
create joy. Whether it makes money or something, that's the finance people and the lawyers can do all of that. They are experts at that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So that's my prayer so far. Yeah. Financially. And the idea of power of 10 people, it just sounds so cool. The power of
Mm.
10. Dun, dun, dun. And the idea of Kajal being one of them, as a pivot, she owns 10% of the production run. And it'd be so great to have 9 ordinary South Africans with her, at least meeting once every 6 months. This is what our plan is. We're going to do these
Mm.
theaters. If you guys want to join me, I'll be at Rosebank Shopping Mall doing a Instagram thing. Tell all your friends, and suddenly get all the ladies from Deloitte coming over, from Ernest and Young, who have no interest in theater, but one of the ladies has a 10 rand, invested in this thing. You could do that, or you could buy it. You could buy shares in JSC, and let's see how much fun you have with your 10 rand day. You know, let's it's just a different way of an
Mm.
ordinary audience owner to become part of the art that they have been supporting anyway. It's for theater goers and that type. I mean, I'd be a hard time selling this to my neighbor John here. What are you on about? You gotta have to see in the play, be a part of it, and
Mm.
again, if it's almost like a movement, it's a tiny seed of a movement that has the potential to grow. And it depends how much of fuel we're going to put into it. So right now is
Mm.
that crucial time. For me personally, I just think man, this is a bonfire waiting to happen. Not just a movement. What about a brand? A woman apart. Yeah, I mean, if you think of it as a commercial brand, um, and all the extensions out of that. I mean, think of a fragrance, and think of a 30-second ad around the fragrance a woman apart with smoke and mirrors. I mean, it just has so many commercial applications, but it still all comes down to a singular theatrical experience that sits at the heart of the whole thing. Makes sense.
Awesome. Hmm. For someone considering bringing in a friend or a family member into this investment, what qualities or values should they be looking for in a co-investor?
I think first and foremost, you need someone who's interested in theater and the
Mm.
arts, because
Yeah.
and that comes from across. You get plumbers, electricians,
Mm.
bricklayers, and doctors. PhDs. I've noticed in my audiences when I'm performing, especially when I'm doing jazz, it's a cross section of age, color, height, size, education, all of that. I am saying if you have an interest in this, that's step one. Step two is it something you enjoy doing? Because if you don't enjoy it and you want to see it in an investment, there are 10,000 shares that will outperform this, that will make you grow money. This is not about, this is almost like paying a ticket to have some fun as a business owner for a period of time. At the end of it, if you don't get your money back, I had a great time. It was worth the 10 rand. And if you do get your money back, wow, I got 10 rand back plus another 10. However, this pans out, you will be the author, in a sense, of its success by just being a part of it. Um, yeah. So I would recommend that if anyone's thinking of going down this line, first, am I that type of person? And if yes, why this play? Because there's 10,000 other plays as well and productions
Mm.
to invest in. What makes this such a great investment versus that person's one man play and that person's one woman play? Because there are lots of women, one a single handers. What makes this difference is what I'm saying is the technological potential for it to multiply exponentially. It's not like a play and stuck in a time zone in a period with characters and a Mr. This and a Mrs. That and A happens, then B happens, and C and no. This is 2026 live that you think created almost to give you a live sensation. That's not live, of course. The entire thing is real. But yeah. So I
All
think
right.
that's the kind of profile.
Huh? Okay. Before I get to my final question, there's a comment question for you here. This is from Jitin Rishka. Hi, Naresh. I guess you have the best team. Well done. Hopefully you bring it to Cape Town audience.
Yeah. The team story. That's yes, Cape Town audience. Yes, yes. That's obviously if you look at Durban, Johannesburg, KZN, Gauteng, all of that. Cape Town's an amazing theatre uh, basin. People go to theatre because they love to go to theatre. I mean, you look at the Baxter there and the theatre heritage. Even in the suburbs, the community halls, the community. It's a live, vibrant music, theatre, books. That kind of environment. Very first world in that respect. But to get there, the team is crazy because it's not just artists that are working here. It's financiers um, and logistics providers. And I mean, how do you sell an idea? Like one of my actors is an artist. Is a world-leading artist. His name is Andres Buerta. He did the sculptures of the rhinos, the massive rhinos, and the massive elephants, and he's got installations all over the world. Now I've got him playing a plumber for 30 seconds in the play.
Wow.
Now, great, but now how do you explain to a 70-year-old artist what is required for the next 30 seconds and to say act? And he says, what do you mean act? It's the most challenging thing I found is working with artists or singers or musicians or writers in a particular field who've never really crossed over and played in the other fields. But man, it's so cool because behind my character Tash, you have like about 10, 12, almost 22 different characters. A plumber, there's an electrician there, there's the mother, the doctor, the neighbor, the best friend's husband. Um, yeah, so it's just a series of characters being played out. But again, the beauty of it is trying to get the performance out of all of these different kinds of people. So, anyway, now that team
Mhm.
is not a, a reality in South Africa. If you I lived, I no, I worked 6 months I spent in Sweden a long time ago. A period in
Wow.
England, a period in India, and a year in all over the world, in different periods, stretches of time. And I found a lot of those countries have infrastructure naturally built into the municipality or the town or whatever it is for this kind of team to exist. Now, for us, I'm finding we had to create a team of financiers, of logistics providers, venue providers, sound, light, all of that had to be created almost from scratch each time. And not just, yes, all those individual elements do exist, but they don't exist as a starter pack for artists, for musicians, for dancers. There is no starter pack. If we knew that you are going to be the next Trevor Noah in this country, what will we provide for you at the age of 8, 10, 15, 17? So at 30, you are doing the daily show, or 40, whatever the age is. The point is, we need to backward engineer systems that are able to produce artists and musicians and dancers and all that can create this kind of art. Um, and that sorely is missing in this country, unfortunately. We have a lot of departments and there are funds available, but I'm talking about a different kind of democracy, almost a grassroots artistic democracy, you know, because again, we are all artists at this level and we are just relying on the next paycheck. We are not relying on any net. There is no net. Scandinavians are doing the net brilliantly. Britain, the BBC, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, the American Broadcasting, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. These are like the SABC, South African Broadcast, their equivalents. But the the reach and the influence is completely supportive, whereas ours is very symptomatic. Whatever the symptom, will fix that symptom with this. You can't have a symptomatic and kind of approach this illness. What you need is completely supportive and net all the time. So an artist can fly, because artists, we can't fly on command. We can't wake up at 8 o'clock and have an idea, and 10 o'clock I'll deliver the idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. So we'll leave that one there, I think.
Lastly, if this evolves into a national and even global brand, how do you see these early supporters, the friends, fans, and family being part of that long-term journey?
Well, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Is I want everyone to be a part of it. Taj will tell you this, and also the other people that work here. I want to create a community of supporters around this. Yes, for whatever reason, let's say it's a production and so on. But this one has got particular importance because the message is beyond gender. The message is beyond race and geographic border. It's a message about freedom now, not at some later point in life, not through some self-development course, not through some. What we're talking about is you reflecting honestly on the actions and choices you've made while waiting for an Uber. And at the end of coming to an understanding of, listen, I am at the center of all of this. I am the issue. And at some point, you realize this was never about you, but it was just about a whole lot of stuff that's happening. And you can free yourself from it. It's acknowledging, it's accepting, and it's surrendering. But now that idea is beyond a play, it's beyond a book, it's beyond a movement. And it's been done to death in so many ways by so many writers, 10 times better than I am. But this was such a 2026 version of that. It would be a shame if the world doesn't see it.
Mm.
It's sad because you take away the gender thing and you take away her stories and the husband's money and her money and da da da. And you say, hey, that's me. That is me. I have the same issues. I have the same issues with my mom. I have the same issues with my best friend. I have the same issues from the car garage mechanic that's fixing take away all of that. And how do anyway, again, like I said, the theme is much bigger. And that's why I think it's got the ability. If it was a rom-com, if it was a bank heist movie, if it was a drama about a family, all of that, that needs to stay at home. That's a local story. That's great. This is not a local story. Uh, so yeah, that's where I'm at.
Awesome. All I gotta say is thanks for your time once again, Naresh, and I hope to check you again in the future.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for reaching out. It is such a different way of approaching the business of theater. I needed some. I needed some almost needed some validation that, listen, I think you're okay. And when you're alone, it's difficult, and suddenly you reached out. So thank you very much. It says, hey, listen, you got an idea here. Let's see how far we can take it. So I appreciate the fact that you reached out. And thanks for your time,
Yeah,
as always.
likewise.